Hello everyone. My name is Kathy Marshak. I am a SAFE Fellow and a Principal Consultant with Icon Agility Services. Thank you very much for joining us today. We have with us Dean Leffingwell from Scaled Agile Inc. As you all know, he is the Chief Methodologist of Scaled Agile, and he's here today to have a discussion with you and answer some of the questions that you have posed. We've invited you to join our Lean Coffee Forum, where each person has 3 votes to spend on the topics that you see here on your screen. Beth, would you do us a favor and post the link one more time in chat in case people haven't joined? In order to spend your votes, you will simply need to vote on the topic by clicking on the word vote on the card. We'll give you guys about 1 more minute to finish spending your votes. You may spend your votes all on one topic, or you can distribute them across the various cards as you wish. So we'll spend 1 more minute getting your votes here, and then we will look at the results.
Kathy, or just a test, can everybody hear Kathy Marshak? Can everyone hear?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Great, so thank you everybody. Go ahead and spend your votes for the next minute if you haven't already done so. Okay, we'll just give you about 15 more seconds to finish voting. Unfortunately, I cannot see who still has outstanding votes. So if you haven't voted, go ahead and spend your votes by clicking on the word vote at the bottom of the card that represents the topic you are most interested in. Okay, and I think that's it for voting. Let's go ahead and see the results and start our discussion. I'm just going to move this out of the way here. Okay, you can see here our top vote getters. This list is arranged by the votes. And so Dean, if you are ready, I will turn this over to you. I will start our first topic, which is what are the critical success factors of a highly successful LACE? And is there a roadmap for organizational agility? The way we'll run our Lean Coffee today, we'll spend 5 minutes on the topic. At the end of the 5-minute time box, you will have the opportunity to vote whether you would like to continue the conversation, end the conversation, or if you are neutral, the other participants' votes will drive our decisions. Okay, so let's get started here. Dean, your first question is about the LACE.
Okay, I suspect that many of you on this call can answer this as well as I can, but let me tell you what I've observed that's most successful. There's a fair amount of guidance now in SAFE about the LACE. It is the sufficiently powerful coalition for change in Cotter's world. What I've seen successful is there has to be some dedicated people. It's very tough to do this while you're doing, while you're doing a full-time day job. So number one, we're going to need a nucleus at least, let's just say inside a business unit, not the full enterprise, of dedicated people. A few, 2, 3, 4 SPCs typically that can hold that together. Number two, it needs to operate as a well-formed agile team. And while we kind of take that for granted, you don't always see that. And even in our own enterprise, we've got areas of people working together in Agile that haven't really created a team. What that means is they need a scrum master and a product owner. They need a cadence. They need a backlog. They need to make their work visible. They need to show where they are in terms of launching value streams and arts and teams and training, and create basically a big visual information radiator for that. Number three, the question is, who's the PO for that team? this is where we start to really engage with leadership in a meaningful way. Because if we can get a VP of meaningfulness, you know, development, PMO, business, or anybody that has true executive gravitas, respect, and authority to lead that, that's going to, as a product owner, that is going to make a huge difference in the enterprise versus a group of practitioners or SBCs that are trying to change the enterprise on behalf of itself. There are also descriptions around hub and spoke models for the larger enterprise. And I think if you saw the FedEx discussion yesterday, or you could watch the interview again, they called it a little bit differently. They called it their Business Agility Center. And they had a central version of that. And then each business unit had its own version. So that hub and spoke model tends to operate pretty well. So kind of executive sponsorship in the role of PO, a well-formed agile team, doing iterations with visible backlog, and then executing the hub and spoke model as you start to expand. So those are the three biggies. Now, Kathy, I know you're there. I can see you shaking your head. Why don't you add a few to that? This doesn't have to be all me. You're coaching LACEs probably today, right now.
Yes, I am actually, and I'm working with Shalene Cuenca, another SAFE fellow with ICON, as we are doing this. And we are also using the hub and spoke model. We are running the teams as agile teams. They have backlogs. In fact, we went through PI planning recently to plan out the next, in our case, quarter of work. So I think having a LACE that really lives the values and the principles and the practices makes an enormous difference. And I agree with you, Dean. We need visible executive sponsorship and participation, both from a business side and from an IT perspective. If we really want to embrace business agility, then we need to have business leaders engaged in those conversations.
And a very simple takeaway is Kotter's Leading Safe book. You can't read that book and not recognize immediately what you need to do in the LACE to be successful. And part of that powerful coalition of change is to train as many leaders as possible. So SBCs in the LACE, whenever they can get 5 or 10 or 15 executives to sit down for a day or 2 or 3, depending distributed remote, to take Leading Safe, that's super powerful as well. And I've seen over the years so many cases where we would bring a leader or you know, an active stakeholder into the LACE room, which is usually, by the way, a kind of a closet, right? We don't generally get the big conference rooms with all the class. We get the, you know, we get the closets and the old server rooms where we've unloaded the server farms. Bring them in and show them the way the work flows. Now that's harder now, but if you can do that kind of visually, then it'll be visceral, and they'll go, oh, that's an interesting way of working. I could see how that might work. So you really set an example with your mindset and your daily practices.
Yes, and so the last recommendations I'll add right here are to make sure that you share the wins and show how you're being responsive to the feedback and the requests that you are getting from everyone else in your organization. Okay, so that is our time up signal, as you can see here on my screen and on yours. Now you have the opportunity to vote. You can see the 3 options here. You can vote to extend the topic, which means we'll add 3 more minutes to this conversation. You may not have a preference, or you can vote to end the topic. So please go ahead and register your vote. Since everybody can see my screen, I will always vote no preference. We can see the vote totals here. We'll give people 1 more minute or a few more seconds to express their opinion here. It looks like ending topic is the winner. So I'm going to move us along. Whoops. And this will allow us to take our next topic. And so, Dean, the next topic up for discussion is what is on the roadmap for SAFE 6.0. Thank you, John Thompson, for that great question. Dean?
So who said there'll be a SAFE 6.0? I didn't say that.
You said we're going all the way to 8.
True, but I was going to skip 6. So lots on the roadmap, and partially what's on the roadmap right now, by the way, is a smaller batch size delivery model. So the current backlog that we have for things that we want to accomplish in SAFE, which I can describe here pretty briefly, we're going to try to relieve more quickly, and we're going to try to release more frequently with a smaller degree of change. Now, we've never done that before, and the reason is that people, have the potential to get upset if not every course is updated exactly as the big picture. And in the days where you used to show up in front of a big cardboard printout, you didn't want your cardboard printout not to match the one that's online. But we think we've got ways around that now. Part of that is the fact that we're working a much more distributed fashion. So we hope, and I'm confident, because we have a kind of an incremental release, honestly, upcoming relatively soon, that will be not earth-shattering. It will be largely kind of cosmetic redesign to address some significant problems, and then we'll go on from there. So the big topic areas right now, one is simply a rendering issue. We've seen input from, there's another topic here about the DevSecOps U.S. Air Force and the Gartner report. The Gartner report on SAFE was pretty good. And then it said towards the end, and with the PIs, it's a pretty slow release cycle. And I just about fell off my chair at that point. I mean, I literally had those people in my own class, and there's nothing about a PI that says that's a release, but the visualization of that is just killing us. The label program is killing us because it's a program increment. Well, we're going to address that. And I can't tell you exactly how, but we've got to get rid of the vision or the accidental or malicious misinterpretation that looks at the big orange bar and says that's when you release. That's not when we release. It's not when our customers release. That is a planning cycle. Now, if you just reduce it to planning increment, then the words are a little bit softer, and we're going to address that. So the next release is going to have a revisualization of that, and also the DevOps pipeline. The DevOps pipeline is laid out horizontally to show that that's feature flow. But people see that and then look at it over top of the PIs and they go, oh, early on we're doing exploration and then we're going to do integration. And Kathy's laughing. It's like, please tell me that you can look at that and not make that interpretation. But the reality is people do. And it really hurts because it gives an easy way for a critic to tell a story that isn't quite true. And honestly, Gartner's not a critic. They're a fairly honest broker, and they misinterpreted that. So we're going to fix that. Now, fixing that also is a deeper dive on DevSecOps. So we just got through our voice of the customer sessions and our partner voice of the customer sessions, and we had 3 or 4. We used Prune the Product Tree, and we had 3 or 4 golden apples, and these are definitely on the roadmap. One is more content around DevSecOps. Everybody's moving to the cloud. Most everybody's going to software as a service. The platform providers are moving that way. People are moving their initiatives. We have, I think, a really good but really introductory treatment to DevOps. It's really value stream mapping of the development team, and we've got a lot more meat there. So we're working right now actually with some folks in the Air Force and with some partners that are delivering in the Air Force to develop more context around DevSecOps. And that came up as one of the golden apples. Now, that won't happen in a incremental release. That'll happen over time. But the next release will have an absolutely new view of DevSecOps. Also on the golden apple list was SAFE for business teams. And we have ideas about how to do that. SAFE for teams is not perfect for business, and leading SAFE isn't perfect for a business team, nor do we understand how to create the right economic model necessarily around, well, what about HR? What about marketing? What about sales? What about finance? So we're brainstorming strategies to have a SAFE for business teams that's more modular, and therefore probably doesn't cert, because modular courses you can't really test to. And we think we'll launch that. Now that content will appear in SAFE, but SAFE itself is the IP stack that also drives our courseware. So that's underway. Thirdly, also material is the golden apple is more about value streams and arts, and not just identification, but identification and how to organize. We say organize around value. There's an art. What's a team do? And we're going to
Thanks, Dean. You're great. You stopped right there at that time box. So let's take a quick vote. Again, on your screen, you can click to extend the topic, no preference, or end the topic, and you need to be in the Lean copy itself in order to register your vote. As the facilitator, I'm voting no preference. You can see the trending of the topics. I'll give you just a few more seconds to register your vote, and then we will move ahead. Okay, it looks like extending the topic is going to win. So I will add 3 more minutes on this topic. Dean, go ahead if you'd like to continue your statement there.
Thank you. This is my favorite part. So we and others have pioneered the notion of this lean strategy of organizing around value and value streams. And we have very good words around why you should do that. How you do that, how you identify the value stream, how you identify the development value stream, what's an operational value stream, how an operational value stream is the customer of a development value stream, how a development stream is composed of arts, and there are various suggested team topologies as how you would organize the teams in an art. How you would then organize the arts against the large solution architecture is probably the most fascinating topic that we're facing right now. And it's one that actually, as SAFE has made it way across the chasm. We had a session the other day where one of our SBCTs introduced for feedback their 7 solution trains. And I don't remember exactly, Kathy, maybe you were there, it's like 200 arts. It was huge. And how those get organized, how they collaborate, how they cooperate to deliver larger value is a really big deal. Now, there's a bit of new IP we're going to leverage, and that's the work of Pace and Shelton in team topologies. And by the end of this week, we're going to publish an advanced topic article that leverages that work. That's a stepping stone because it's a taxonomy and a set of semantics we can use to start to solve that problem. So I fully believe that over the next kind of few small releases or towards 6, we've got to help companies, large enterprises, figure out what makes a team, what they want to organize around, how Conway's law is true, but not always negative, right? How my organization is going to reflect the architecture, how to approach large legacy systems, and how to truly organize around value. We have an art, that's a pretty good organization, but what's a team do? Oh, if I have 2 arts, what's the second art do? Are they the same? Is one a complicated subsystem? Is it a platform team? So really excited about that piece of, that's kind of where my head is at right now, working with the team. And it's soft and fuzzy, but it's also new art and new science. And therefore, I think very exciting. And number 1 on the hit parade for our largest enterprises. Some of the people that are relatively later to the party are really big shops, and they need to sort through this pretty quickly. So that's probably, I don't know. For me, it's a very interesting area, and I think a place where, frankly, we can develop some new IP and lay out some new science and art about how to really build how to build really big systems even better.
Great, thank you so much, Dean. I know that we're all looking forward to these changes. I've seen some of those changes coming up, and it's very exciting. I think will be very helpful to people.
Yeah. So by the end, let's say sometime next week, check the SAFE blog and there'll be a new advanced topic article up. I guarantee it.
Excellent. Thanks, Dean. All right, go ahead and vote. Would you like to continue discussing this topic? We'll give people a few more seconds to register your vote. Okay, it definitely looks like we are trending towards finishing the topic. All right, I'm going to call it. This topic is finished. Thank you very much. And next up, we have a question from Lisa about what are the key do's and don'ts when implementing lean portfolio management. We'll set our clock for 5 minutes.
Yesterday on stage, virtual stage, I mentioned that we're refactoring and redoing LPM inside Scaled Agile. And in one of the breakout sessions, somebody said, well, you guys should be great at this already. Well, we weren't bad at it. We certainly had a pretty good way to match demand and capacity. We had a full kind of roadmap, and we definitely had epics, and we had visibility, and we had a Kanban. But as this started to become more and more important, we developed the Lean Portfolio Management course. And we took that course to market, and it's on market now. We took it out as a 3-day course. That didn't work perfect. It's now 2+1 because 3 days wasn't enough to actually implement LPM, and it was too long to teach LPM. So we were dropped back to 2+1. Well, we took that course. And we took that course and then we tried to follow exactly the rule book inside our company. And our RTE and teammates and stakeholders did what they thought SAFE described, but it didn't turn out quite the way we thought it would. So what we did was we observed some of the misinterpretations. For example, strategic portfolio review versus portfolio sync. We were interpreting that backwards. So we were running kind of the wrong content at the wrong cadence. So beknownst to you only if you care to read our blog, is that while we've been doing that over the last 4 or 5 months, we've been updating those articles. We've been cleaning up WSJF. We've been cleaning up participatory budgeting. We've been making it clear. We added more detail around what the ceremonies are. So here's the do's and don'ts when implementing lean portfolio management. Just do. If you take the course now, it gives you a chance to learn the right set of practices and basics and the right ceremonies or events. It charters the people that take the course to create a roadmap to do that, because every roadmap is unique and different. These are not 2 weeks later we implemented LPM. I mean, we have to start by figuring out how decisions get made around here. And if you just literally follow the roadmap that you'll create out of LPM, you'll do the right thing. And be patient with yourself, because the concepts around really understanding the strategic portfolio review, the concepts around, are we responsible for strategy or can we contribute to it? The concepts around what makes a good strategic theme that would drive that, the concepts around the Kanban. You saw, if you didn't see Brian Tucker's talk yesterday, watch that talk. He did an absolutely brilliant discussion of how somewhat oversimplistic the SAFE portfolio Kanban is. And it is, because we can't write 50 pages on every topic. But if you implement the Kanban and you follow that rule over time, you'll get there. So as we've tuned it, I think the guidance is really, really tight. I'm personally proud of it because we're using it and testing it. And when we double down on it, we do have to update some articles from time to time. It actually works. So just do it. And if you do it the way it's described, you will create your own roadmap and you'll follow through. And you're also going to need an RTE or two that's on their game and ready to lead this, because one of the challenges with LPM is those stakeholders do not necessarily have a locus. They come from various areas. It might be, a director of finance. There's a VP of product development. Maybe there's a IT person. There's a security architect. There's a lead product managers. They don't work together normally as their day job. So putting them together means you have to facilitate a process to get them together. The process is called Lean Portfolio Management, but it has to be facilitated by somebody. Could be an outsider was probably really good. We actually used one. We used one of our own SPCTs, Dima, to help do it, because she didn't have a stake in the game of how it turned out. So definitely get some help. Have an RTE, facilitate the process, and just run the process, because it now really does hold water. If you do those things, your strategy will become clear. You'll know where your epics are in the pipeline. You'll do a better job of matching demand to capacity. You'll provide some lightweight governance, and you'll start to really understand how strategy flows through implementation. And that's what LPM is all about. LPM aligns strategy and implementation. And when you think about it, strategy is a group of very big boys and girls that make big decisions. Implementation, also big boys and girls, different types of work. Bringing that together, that's where you get the creative tension around, well, we'd love to do it, we can't execute it. We could execute this and not that. And that's where I think that the next level of velocity and outcome is going to come in large enterprise by effectively implementing LPM.
Great, thank you so much, Dean. Okay, it looks like we are definitely getting a sense that we are finished. Thank you so much for that comprehensive set of tips about lean portfolio management. Our next topic is, Dean, about your response to Nick Shalene, the CSO of the USAF, and his perspective. And just so you guys know, in the interest of time, I'm going to make this 3 minutes, so we've got a couple minutes to wrap up. I'll make it 4 minutes, Dean.
Sure. So Nick Shalene heads up the Chief Software Office in the Air Force. He's new to the Air Force and new to the role. He has a point of view, which is that basically small two-pizza DevSecOps teams can implement software at scale. That's an interesting point of view. I, by the way, very much believe in small two-pizza DevOps teams running DevSecOps CD pipelines, absolutely. But it's not the whole picture. So if you have a chance to look at, for example, the U.S. Air Force customer story interview today, that's the whole picture. That's a program like a program called Forge, using SAFe in basically all the dimensions, including software development. Now, in discussions, we engage with Nick, and we have not really a joint venture, it's a collaborative effort. So we're working right now with some partners that deliver services on platform, on and around platform, and do the training to develop a course that will help. Also, the presentation layer of current SAFe with the big spike and the word program is fighting words in that world. So the refactoring of the UI of SAFe will relieve a lot of the pain that says, wow, you ship every 90 days. We don't ship every 90 days, but when Nick and others look at it and somebody wants to be a critic, they say, well, they can only ship every 90 days. That's not DevSecOps. So forget that. And by the way, look at that CD pipeline. One PI, they do, they do an elaboration. The next one they do, we got to eliminate that. So we're communicating, and Nick actually has in his inbox our next version of SAFe with that representation. He's been fully apprised. It's also a lot quieter. We have so much positive momentum in the Air Force that I just don't think it's helping Nick or the Office of the CSO right now to say that, my recommendation is not to use a rigid framework as if SAFe was rigid. So I think he started in a place that didn't really have a full understanding. We've come to understand him better, and we're addressing the legitimate issues that he raised without, throwing tomatoes around or getting ugly out there, because none of that ever works. We didn't argue with the XP or the Scrum community, and we're sure not going to argue with the DevSecOps Platform One initiative, which is a great initiative, by the way. We want all of our warfighters to have access to that platform for the real-time information needs. So nothing wrong with that. So I would say that we're just moving forward in time. I think we're winning by executing, and the next version of SAFe will have a lot more to say about that. I just don't think it doesn't seem to be an issue for the Air Force. It seems to be an issue for people who might think is an issue for the Air Force.
Great, thanks, Dean. And along those lines, I know you guys do voice of the customer, and you've been speaking with a lot of vendors. Do you have any words from any of the big defense contractors or vendors? Any response from them about how SAFe can help the DoD?
I'm sorry, was that a question for me?
Yeah, I was just curious if you've heard anything from some of the big defense contractors about their view on SAFe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Grumman, Lockheed, SAIC are huge SAFe shops. And I don't know what percentage of their work they do in SAFe, but it's a really big bunch. So they're involved right now. We're involved with them. There's a separate initiative, which is a little different, called Industrial DevOps, which is a collaborative issue with some people in the DevOps community that's creating new patterns for building large-scale systems using SAFe and the DevOps construct. So that's also a helpful thread there.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, everybody, that brings us to the bottom of the hour. I want to thank you again on behalf of Dean Leffingwell and Icon Agility Services for your participation today. As Beth Elliott said earlier, please feel free to stop by Icon's virtual booth in this session. Beth Elliott, do you have any other final comments you'd like to make?
Just thanks for coming by. Stella O'Brien and I are in the booth. So you have to scroll way down in the list, but we're there and we're ready to help you, or just connect with us at iconagility.com.
Great.
I have
Dean, any last words?
Maybe one tip that could maybe address number 1 and number 15, when it has lots of votes. Watch the video with the interview with Gene Kim and Don Reinertson and Mick Kirsten. And if I'm a leader, over on the left, read those 3 books. It'll take a while, but you'll have such an amazing in-depth education of different perspectives of what Lean and Agile at scale is like. You'll come out sheer genius. It'll take a while. They're not easy books, but they're really, really great books. So watch that and read those books, and of course, take leading safe.
Great. Thanks again, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. Bye.
Bye, Stella.
Thank you. Hi, Dean.
Thank you. Thanks,
Awesome.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dean.
Have a good one.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kathy. Appreciate it.